Okay, so welcome to the iManage Tracker webinar. My name's Brett McDonald, for those who don't know me, and with me today are Jeff Anderson. Many of you should know him. He's the OAA Solutions Director, and also Luke Creswick, Head of Pre-Sales at iManage. Just a little bit of housekeeping to start with. If you have some questions throughout the webinar, please add that to the Q&A section of your Teams. If, however, you wish to speak, just raise your hand, and we've got a dedicated Q&A session at the end of the session. We'll then enable your mic, and then you can enable your unmute yourself, and then you'll be able to speak at the end. So two ways there, via the Q&A section or raise your hand. So quick look at the agenda for today. We're going to start with the mandatory slides about OAA and iManage, so you can find out a little bit more about us. Then we'll delve into a little bit of a solution overview in the slides before I hand over to Jeff Anderson, who'll carry out a demonstration of iManage Tracker, and we'll finish up with that Q&A where you'll have the chance to ask some questions. Firstly, though, I'd just like to introduce Luke Creswick from iManage, who'd like to say a few words.
Yeah, thanks, Brad, and thanks everyone for joining. Look, I was really happy to be invited onto this with the OAA team. Look, I think Tracker is a really important solution that we've brought into the iManage cloud over the past year or so. Look, it represents a pretty significant investment that iManage has made over the last couple of years to bring, a very client and engagement centric task and checklist tracking solution right into Work 10, and working seamlessly with that Work 10 DMS experience. It is still relatively new. It's got a great, roadmap and future ahead of it, but we're really getting some wins with the solution already, with various firms from various verticals all around the world. And look, I've been talking with Jeff and team and Brett and team, and they're doing some really exciting things, locally here, in the accounting space. Some customers that are already using the solution, but also exploring some really interesting use cases in the accounting space with Tracker. So, look, we're really excited about it, and I'm excited about the work that the OAA team are doing to really bring this solution to market, particularly in the accounting space. So thanks for the invite, and thanks everyone for attending.
Cheers, Luke.
Excellent, thanks, Luke. Okay, so some quick stats about OAA. You've probably seen most of these. We've been around since 1991. We've been a Microsoft partner for 15 years, and we're actually the first iManage partner to bring iManage to Australia way back in 1996. We've been iManage Partner of the Year 9 times and Cloud Excellence Partner 4 times. A little bit of information about iManage. Obviously, iManage is used globally and by a large number of firms. 37% of the Fortune 100 use iManage. 80% of the global top 100 law firms and over 2,500 law firms globally use iManage. You're probably not interested in that, though. Worth remembering, over 600 iManage accounting customers globally use iManage. They're from small firms, 15 user firms, right through to some of the largest and best well-known accounting firms in the world use iManage. We thought we'd just touch briefly on the iManage accounting ecosystem, of which iManage Tracker is now a part of. So obviously, there's a number of integrations out there that integrate with iManage that are useful for accountants. They include document signing solutions. We integrate with all the major practice management systems. Workflow, iManage Tracker, which you'll see today. There's client portal options, and also there's document processing options. Some well-known names there, such as PDF Docs, Compare Docs, and Acrobat, of course, all integrate with iManage. So what is iManage Tracker? In a nutshell, I'd probably describe it, if you're already using Asana or Monday or the like, then you're using something very similar to iManage Tracker. Effectively, it's a task management solution that sits around your matter or your job, allowing you to track the progress of tasks. It's all the big advantage. It's all seamlessly integrated with iManage Work 10, which means you can attach documents and share the trackers as if they're a matter. As Luke mentioned, iManage Trackers are still a little new. However, it is in use at a few firms around the globe. Svensson Noggleby law firm, they felt that iManage Tracker was essential as part of their moving to the iManage Cloud, and Travis Smith law firm felt iManage Tracker was actually a no-brainer for them, and they've got a variety number of practice groups that are actually using iManage Tracker. So just some key features of iManage Tracker. As I mentioned, it's all matter or job centric. That is that the trackers are built around your accounting job, your accounting engagement. You can have multiple trackers for an engagement or for a job if you wish. Fully integrated with iManage Work 10. So if you're in the cloud or thinking you're moving to the cloud, you'll be able to add on tracker nice and easily. It's basically zero setup and one click to get to your content. We've had some great feedback from accountants around the potential use cases for iManage Tracker. The compliance checklists and or work paper management platforms are where we're seeing the key interest, and we've got a few accounting firms out there reviewing iManage Tracker, and one has actually bought iManage Tracker and plans to move ahead with it very soon. It's also useful though for just general task management. So let's say you receive an email from somebody, instead of tracking that in your inbox or the like, you can add that tracker as a task, add that email as a task in iManage Tracker and then assign it to somebody. So it can all stay part of the tracker and wrapped around your engagement or your job. And finally, and arguably most important, it's secure, governed and safe. It comes with all the security that iManage Cloud already has, so you can guarantee the safety of your trackers. Okay, so that's it for the slides. I'll hand over now to Jeff Anderson, who will carry out the demonstration.
Fantastic. Thanks, Brett. I'll just do a bit of a sense check on my my screen, if that's okay. It's looking good.
Yep, that's fine. Yep.
All right, cool. Thanks, mate. And sounds okay as well, I assume.
Yep.
Very good. So what we're going to look at today, guys, is we'll have a look at what is Tracker. We'll review how you interact with it from the iManage Work interface, and where the various touch points between iManage Work content and Tracker content can be used. We'll have a look at how do we create a new tracker, either from a template or from an existing checklist that I might have sitting in my system somewhere. We'll also look at all the different things we can do to update your tracker by doing things like changing metadata values or adding different fields that are relevant for a particular checklist or task list. Also, how do I view the tasks that are in iManage Tracker? So how do I see what I need to do? How do I see what my colleagues or my team members are working on, and what's due and what's overdue and stuff like that as well. And the last thing we'll do is how do we engage with emails and Tracker as well. And so how do we turn emails that perhaps are asking us to do something into an actionable task that can be managed or assigned to someone in my team. So what I'm going to show you in Tracker today, I hope to cover those 5 things mainly, and I'll come back and recover those again once the demonstration's finished. So again, sorry, Brett, I'll just double check if this is my iManage Work 10 screen.
Yep, that's good.
Good, thanks, mate. Okay, so I'd suggest that most of our customers are familiar with iManage Work 10 now. All bar a handful have moved from file site or desk site to Work 10 already. So I won't go too much into the Work 10 interface, but this is obviously the current and the best way for you to be accessing your iManage Work content as it stands today. So the way that we access iManage Tracker from inside Work, again, you'll be very familiar with the tree view that's available. I'm dropping down here into my my workspaces section, and I've got a particular job or engagement here that I want to work on. So here's my bulk oil tax consulting workspace. And And as you guys are probably sort of used to now, we use the term matter or job and engagement sort of interchanged quite easily within the accounting space, depending on which practice management system that you're running with, whether it's APS or MYOB or Xero or whatever. We can align all of our terminology to what works for you and your team. So in my workspace view, if I just use the context menu, I can open up the tracker page for this particular workspace. And with that tracker page, you'll notice I've got a number of trackers available to me at the moment. So in this case, some good examples of trackers that might be useful in this particular vertical is an income tax return or a tax compliance process. This is a fairly hefty one. It's 102 tasks, as you see, and we've got various phases like planning, execution, and completion. And within each of those, we can have things like subtasks and then nested tasks inside those subtasks as well. And each of the tasks can have various pieces of metadata that's associated with each of those tasks. So for example, here we've got some tasks like setting up a job in XPM. I've got a custom metadata field here called assignee description, which is the job reviewer. It's specifically assigned to me, Jeffrey Anderson. The assignees can be anyone that's in your iManage Work solution, so you're not having to reset up users for Tracker. Everything that's in iManage Work comes through into Tracker. We've got due dates available, and we can also link documents, emails, or folders that exist in iManage Work to individual tasks in Tracker. And this is great because we're not having to worry about copying and pasting links or having copies of documents between your DMS and your task list system. We literally just have native links from inside Tracker that go back to documents, emails, and folders that exist in iManage Work. We also have things like a status field. So these are here by default, and you can see we've got color-coded statuses that can be changed by the end users. And then we've got some other custom fields which I've added here, such as a notes field where I've entered some HTTP fields or stuff like that. Some other examples of trackers that we might have, you can see you can have more than one tracker for each engagement or each workspace. I've got this income tax return 2022 that I'm showing you now. I've also got another example that might resonate with the accounting space is a company registration checklist, the things we need to do when we register a new company. And you'll notice some of the metadata is different for this tracker. So each tracker can actually have a custom set of metadata associated with it that's appropriate for the type of work you're doing with that tracker. And you'll see I can add additional fields, and we can enable and disable this depending on what you want your users to do. I could add a tracker for a responsible partner, make this a single line text field, and we add this to this tracker. Then I can start saying, actually, Brett M is the responsible partner for this particular task or this particular tracker. These custom fields, completely open. You can add and remove custom fields as you need them for each tracker type. And those custom fields will also come across if we're copying trackers or using tracker templates as well. I'll look at that a little bit in a second. So there's some good examples of some sort of use cases for trackers that you might have for a particular type of work within a matter or a job or an engagement. What I want to look at now is how do I create a new checklist or a new tracker. So a lot of you are already going to have existing checklists either sitting in Word documents, sitting in OneNote, or sitting in Microsoft Excel. And one of the great features of iManage Tracker is it's really easy for us to transition from those old legacy manually managed and handled checklists to a more dynamic, shareable, active checklist within iManage Tracker. So I'll just give you an example of how we can do that. So there's two main ways I want to show you of being able to create new trackers. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new tracker here. I'm going to rename it and call it Work Papers Management. And I'm going to import some new tasks. So the first way we're going to do this is I'm going to import from an existing tracker checklist. So this is where I can use my tracker templates. I've got a Work Papers tracker template here. You can see all of the tasks and the workflow that it goes along with managing your work papers. And if there's files included, for example, if there's links to work paper templates, like this work paper template here, it'll bring it across for us. I can also bring notes across, or any sort of, other metadata, like whether something's been approved, like the approved or the approver field. I think I don't want to bring when I'm copying this tracker from a template, because I want that to be fresh for this particular checklist. So I'm going to go ahead and import that. That's going to grab all of the tasks, the custom metadata fields, and any data related with those custom metadata fields across into my new tracker. So you see now I have a work papers management tracker within my bulk oil tax consulting engagement workspace. It's brought across a link to a work paper template for the first link task. I can really easily go ahead here and assign it to myself, give it a due date of the end of the month, and I'm going to change the status to in progress, because I know that I'm working on that now. And I say, I got this. No problem there. So as you can see, very easy for me to create and reuse a tracker template that's been created by my administrators, so that we have a repeatable and consistent process for things like work papers management or tax consulting or whatever it is. So that's using templates. The second thing I want to show you is how do we bring legacy task lists or checklists in from other systems. So again, I'm going to create a new tracker here. I'm going to call this one Bridgeco number 3, and import tasks and say copy and paste from your existing checklist. So I'm going to go ahead and use that option. Now, here's a couple of examples here. I've got a conflicts check checklist in a template, in a spreadsheet, sorry. I've also got this register company checklist sitting in a spreadsheet. So it's as simple as me copying and pasting those tasks out of my spreadsheet, pasting into the tracker, just checking that it's got all the fields that I want. So I can say this first row I want to exclude, because that's my title row. This first row, that's actually going to be my task, this column, sorry. The assignee field in the second column, the due date, the status, and of course I've got a notes field at the end here. So I'm going to go ahead and import that. And what we'll see here is that a really quick and simple way, without rekeying information, taking an existing checklist in another system, like a spreadsheet in this example, and going ahead and creating all of those tasks within the context of this particular engagement workspace. The assignees get applied automatically because they came out of the spreadsheet, the due date, the status, and any notes that might be appropriate as well. So you can see, super simple way for us to be able to get those existing checklists and transition our existing processes into Tracker just by using the copy and paste from existing systems. Just some other examples here. If I go back to my income tax return 2022, at any point I can actually export my tracker out to a Word document, a CSV file, or a specific tracker template file. And this is great if I want to take a backup, I want to keep a record of what I've been doing, or of course if I want to recreate my checklist at a later date as well, I can use that. Within the task itself, I can add new tasks to an existing tracker really easily. First of all, of course, I can just, at the bottom of a list, I can say hit enter. It's going to create a new task. Sorry, I wasn't quite at the bottom there. Adding a task. Oh. Very easily update the metadata that's required in this particular task. I'm going to assign this one to Brett. Give it a due date, end of the month. If I want to link an item, I just click the link. Again, because we're already in iManage Cloud, I can just go straight to my document folders or go to my recent workspaces, find that particular tax consulting workspace that I'm working in, grab some files, and maybe I want to link that new client form to this particular this particular task. That's done very easily, and go ahead and set a status to in progress, for example. Another great way that we can get new tasks into the system is by using the right-click context menu when you're looking at a document. So if I drop back into iManage Work, I'm going to jump into the risk management folder for my tax consulting workspace. I've got a engagement letter here. I can right-click on that, and I can say add as a task in tracker. We can also multi-select. So if I multiple select a couple of documents, I then have the option to add these as tasks in tracker. In this case, I'm just going to select one, add it as a task in tracker. It knows I'm already in this particular matter workspace, but if I wanted to go and select a different matter workspace and add it to another tracker, that's fine as well. And of course, if I've got multiple trackers per workspace, I can select which tracker I want to add it to. So in this case, I'll add it to one of those new, say that work papers management workspace that I just created. I can give it a due date from here. The file is automatically linked. Update the status, and then add the task. Of course, then I can just click through. It'll take me to that particular tracker that I've just added that task for. And we'll see it's created a task with the document name and all of that metadata that I plugged in during the course of that tracker, that task creation has been entered there. So that's great. A few other things we can do with tasks. If I have a look at, say, this link, to set up the new tax return, for example, I can pop out my details pane. That's going to show me things like the name, which I can easily change here. I can change the assignee or the due date. I can see where the tracker exists and when and who created it. And also something that's become particularly important for our accounting customers is things like viewing the audit trail of any particular task. So I can see the full life cycle of this task. I can see the various different people have gone in and made changes to the task and what changes they've made and when. And this is important if you've got some regulatory compliance where you have to be able to prove that a particular step or a particular transaction or checklist or task was approved by an individual at a particular time and date. And so this audit history of each individual task is going to give us that information, that data that we can use, so we can stand behind the processes that we've been managing with iManage Tracker. Some other interesting things we can do around linking documents and folders. So as I mentioned, you can link folders and emails, documents and emails. If we actually want to also provide a link to a folder, so we want people to be able to go and find information, say about a particular work papers or something like that, I'm going to go to my recent workspaces again, find that tax consulting, go into my drafts folder, and by not selecting any documents, that's going to allow me to add a link to the actual folder itself. Okay, so that's a general overview of the trackers themselves. Again, some of the example use cases I've given you here is a tax compliance or an income tax return process, various different sort of steps, sub-steps, assignees, due dates, and linked files and other metadata fields are available. Company registration checklist, and of course there was that work papers management sort of process that we're using as an example as well. And this one, if you remember, was created from a existing tracker template and brought across some links to some files which are already in my iManage work system. Right, so that's the general premise of the trackers themselves. When I want to look at how do I manage my own tasks or manage or view the status or tasks of other people in my team, It's very easy for me to go ahead and jump to the Tasks tab that appears in my folder tree in iManage Work. So once Tracker is enabled in your iManage Cloud tenant, you'll all of a sudden your users will have this Tasks button available. Of course, we can also access trackers by going to the context menu for workspaces and documents and stuff like that as well. But if I go to my Tasks tab, you can see my tasks. This is my tasks by matter. So these are all of the matters or workspaces or engagements that I'm currently working on that have trackers enabled in them. So you'll see some of them have got multiple trackers going on. So there's that ITR 2022. And these are the current tasks that I have assigned to myself that are due. So I've got this one in red because it's overdue. I can click on that. I can very easily see information about this tracker, the files that are linked, the status. I can change the status if I want there. And of course, similarly here, I can do things like grab the timeline, copy a link. Of course, I can delete the task as well. The send email is a good feature. So if this is something I need to get some information from somebody about this task that I'm trying to complete, I can send an email to someone saying, hey, on this task, I need you to do X, Y, Z. Of course, if it's in someone else's task list, you might not need to send them an email. You can just put a note or change the status or add some comments on that task as well. Some other ways that I can view the tasks that I've got is by due date. So if I change my view to my tasks by due date, you'll see here I've got that one task which is past due. I've got a task which is due tomorrow. I've got a task due next week. And of course, I've got a whole bunch of tasks which are due more than a week in advance. And again, I can go through this and just very quickly and easily see what these tasks are about. If I want to, I can go and change the dates. I can change the status and stuff all in line very easily, or I can check the timeline and see what's been going on with a particular task in a tracker. The matter tracker tab to the right here is interesting. So this shows me, so for example, all the workspaces I've been working on recently, or the workspaces in my work list. And you'll notice if there's no tracker existing for any particular matter, it gives them the opportunity to create a tracker. But I know that I've got a tracker for this bulk oil tax consulting workspace. If I click on that, it's going to take me to that full list of tasks for all of the parties that are involved in that particular matter. So there's that work papers management tracker that we're talking about. And again, I can go through and get that same view of tasks in my tax compliance or ITR tracker with the people who it's assigned to, the status, and so on and so forth. So that's generally my stuff and a full view of an entire tracker, but it might also be handy for me to see what's going on with other people. So if I'm working in a team or I've got a team of people working for me, I can have a look and see other people's tasks. So I might want to have a look in here and say, hey, Brett, what's Brett got on his plate at the moment? So I can see Brett's pretty well up to date. I can see he's got, quite a few different checklists on the go, and under each of those he's got a few tasks which are due and none are overdue at the moment. But if I did want to check and see what was going on, of course, I've got the details pane. I can have a look at the timeline and see when things have changed or people have added or removed comments or changed statuses on the task. If I wanted to, I could add some notes. And of course, Brett will get notified if I make changes to his trackers. And then, of course, I've got the opportunity here to send an email to Brett if I wanted to ask him what's going on with this particular task. I can also see tasks that I have personally assigned to other people. And so, again, this might be emails that I've dragged and dropped into the system or documents I want someone to do something with. So I create a tracker task for them and assign it to them. And then this will give me a list of all of the tasks that I've assigned out or delegated to other people. I can see who they're assigned to, what the status is, what's going on with that tracker, or I can ask questions or add comments and that sort of thing as well. So that's a pretty handy view. Of course, my task by due date is probably where a lot of people would be living to see what they need to do on a day-to-day basis. Another thing we can do from inside this task tab is have a look at our emails and notification preferences. So whilst the Tracker is going to help us to reduce things like, trying to manage tasks out of my inbox, or getting a bunch of reminders and constant emails or questions or queries from people about what's going on with particular tasks. That's all managed within Tracker itself. I can actually get a daily digest email sent to me, and that's done either by people that I'm following. So at the moment, I'm following 3 different people, or I can follow specific trackers. And this is great because I can carve it up and say, actually, I only want to really get a daily update on a few trackers. So I'm not going to follow every single tracker in the system, of course, because that would be a lot of tasks to know about on a day-to-day basis. And that's a good segue for me to pop over to Outlook and show you how we can interact with Tracker from inside Outlook. So again, everyone should be pretty familiar with the Outlook interface. We've got our standard iManage Work filing toolbar. Everyone's familiar now with iManage Work Panel. What's new once you enable Tracker in your iManage Cloud tenancy is that you now have this Tracker panel option available to you in Outlook. And when you click on that, it pops out a task pane here showing you your iManage Tracker stuff. So this is that My Tasks by Due Date view. It's the same as what we're looking at in the iManage Work interface. For example, I can click through, see all those same values. I can change statuses if I want to, change due dates, update, get a link to the actual matter itself if I want to see the documents and the context of this particular task. Or of course, if there's any files or folders linked to the task, I can go straight to them from here and they'll pop up inside this Tracker window. Here's one of those daily task reports I was talking about. So I've received an email from Tracker this morning. If I open that up, you can see, because I've subscribed to quite a few trackers, these are all my tasks. So this one is overdue. These all link back to the tasks in iManage Cloud, so very easy for me to click through and get access to these tasks if I need to. They're all ordered by the due date, which is great. Tasks that I've assigned to other people and where they're at. And then, of course, I've got a daily digest for each of the actual trackers that I'm following. So this can be as rich or as light as you need to, depending on how many trackers you're subscribed to and how many users you're following as well. So this can be quite handy, just to give you a bit of a sort of a one-page view of what's going on with the tasks that that you're responsible for at the moment. The last thing I want to look at is, we discussed before being able to convert an email, which might have an actionable item in it, and turning that into a task which can be either assigned to myself or assigned to somebody else. So this tax consulting ITR 2022 tracker is in my tracker panel. If I just drag and drop, say someone wants to start a new agreement here, I drag and drop the email onto the tracker. That's going to go ahead and file the email into the relevant workspace for that tracker. And then it will, in fact, create a new task in iManage Tracker for that. I'll just click through this example. Same deal, it'll automatically assign it to me. I can go ahead and reassign that to somebody else if I want to. And of course, I can set different due dates. It'll automatically be linked to the email that was saved into the engagement or the matter workspace. And of course, I can update the status and do that sort of thing as well. And at any point, of course, I can get access to things like the timeline. I can get a link to the tracker, so I can share it via Teams or in emails and stuff like that as well. So that pretty much wraps up what I wanted to show you as an introduction to Tracker today. Just to do a bit of a recap on what we just looked at. We had a look at, what is Tracker? How do we access it through the iManage Work interface? The context of having one or two or multiple trackers within a particular workspace itself. How do we access those trackers either via the matter or via the task list? we looked through how do we create a tracker from the existing tracker template, or even more importantly, how do we migrate legacy trackers from checklists which are sitting in spreadsheets or Word documents or stuff like that by using the new tracker from a list function. We also had a look at how we can tailor a tracker. So how do we add and remove different metadata fields and different values that can be assigned to tasks that are relevant to a particular tracker type? And of course, things like how do we interact with those task lists? So how do we see all of my trackers by date? Or how do I see all of my tasks that are due for a particular engagement or matter? Or I can even see what are my colleagues doing? So what's going on with, what's on Brett's task list today? What's overdue for Brett? How many tasks does he have? And finally there, I can do things like request a daily digest. So I can see anything that's updated or changed or become overdue or upcoming due tasks in an email that gets sent to me on a daily basis. And the last thing we looked at there was how do we work with emails? And so the first thing was the tracker panel, which is a new feature inside iManage, inside Microsoft Outlook, where I can interact with the trackers and I can drag and drop emails from my inbox into a tracker, which will save the email into the relevant matter or engagement workspace and then create a new task that I can then assign to myself or to another person within my organization. So that pretty much wraps up what I wanted to show you as an introduction. Hopefully you got a good view of what some example use cases like tax compliance or tax return processes or checklists, work papers management or company registration checklists. And they're just some really basic and hopefully understandable, relatable use cases for a checklist that we think are starting points for our customers in the accounting space using iManage Tracker. So from here, we'd really like to take any questions. So the way that we can do that is if you pop any questions into the Q&A panel, we're happy to answer them. And I've got my panel of experts here, Brett and Luke, to answer questions if we need to. Also, if you feel like you just want to ask some questions, please raise your hand. Brett will be able to enable your microphone so you can unmute yourself and ask the question. So I'll give you a minute to pop any questions or raise your hand and we can give you access to your mic. Or we've got some other questions that Jenny can ask us just to get things moving if we need to.
Yeah, cool. So Jeff, Mike has asked 2 questions in the Q&A. So he's initially asked what version of Work Desktop is required to see Tracker and Outlook.
That's a good question. It has been working at least since about iManage Work Desktop for Windows 10.5, which is the minimum version you need to be using it against iManage, cloudimanage.com anyway. Of course, at the moment, we're recommending that people move to the Work Desktop for Windows 10.9 to take advantage of some new features there as well. But the tracker functionality itself will work from Work Desktop for Windows 10.5 and above. And I'll just get Luke to give me the tick of approval on that.
That sounds about right, Jeff. I'll check offline to see if there's any changes to that, but I think that's good advice. Should be on the latest, but about 10.5 and above sounds about right.
That's right.
I shall check.
Thanks, Mike.
Perfect. And then he's also asked another great one. He's asked, is there a link between due date and Tracker and Outlook calendar? So, for example, is due date can be added to an Outlook calendar? Will that reflect in Tracker?
So
that's a good question. Luke, thanks, mate.
Yeah, so I might take that one. So that's actually, so I work pretty closely with the iManage product management team involved in Tracker. So at the moment there is no link between these these tasks within trackers and the dates and tasks and things that can be in the Outlook calendar. This is something the product management team has been asked a number of times, and I think they're considering in the future how the relationship between task due dates in Tracker and your Outlook calendar interact. It's not a simple thing on the surface because having them in both kind of implies some synchronization, but certainly something that our product management team is considering for the future.
Perfect. And then I actually have a couple of questions just for myself before I ask the ones that I'd sort of prepared. In terms of adding a tracker from an Excel that we keep internally, is there a way to have that as a template. So if I have new trackers I need to add, can I use a generic one that I've imported from an Excel already? Or
So
do I have to?
are you saying, so if you create a new tracker from an Excel spreadsheet,
Yeah.
you want to use that tracker as a template?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
Is that possible?
absolutely. Yeah, it is. So any trackers that get saved into the system or created in your tracker environment can be used as a template. So we've just used a naming convention by putting template in front of the ones which are the official iManage tracker templates. But if someone creates a new random tracker from their own personal legacy checklist, they can reuse that over and over and over again by copying it from that tracker. Yep, 100%.
Perfect. And then I just also wanted to know, can the trackers only be added to the say the matter job level, or can you add them to folder levels?
Good question. It's very much workspace centric. So we have a
Okay.
workspace which represents a matter or an engagement or a job, depending on the industry that you're in, and those trackers will sit as part of that matter centric, job centric, engagement centric workspace. So it's not at the folder level; it's at the matter level or the engagement level. But we can link individual folders to tasks that are in trackers.
Okay, cool. And then I sort of just prepped these ones thinking that this might be a good space to talk about some questions that I think, people might have. What is the current pricing and deployment costs that we're looking at to put tracker in?
I'll give that one to Brett.
Yeah, so the pricing is per user. Probably best that the customers reach out to their account manager for exact pricing. But we do see that as very competitive to things like Asana or Monday if you're already using those. Jeff, did you want to cover deployment costs?
Yep, for sure. So a couple of notes there, and this might be a question that comes up, is that tracker is available in cloudimanage.com only. So it's not currently available for on-prem customers. Yet another great reason to look at iManage Cloud if you haven't yet. But when we implement it, to get tracker enabled in your iManage Cloud tenant, it's literally minutes to make it available, because it is a service that's available in iManage Cloud. Once you've licensed it, the iManage Cloud success team essentially just turn it on for you and it's available. So all of the functionality like the users and the metadata and stuff all comes from the iManage work instance. So there's really nothing more that you need to do to make it available to your users. You can sort of play around with who gets access to those menu items and stuff like that. So you can gently roll it out when you need it, but it's very quick and easy to enable the tracker platform inside your iManage Cloud tenancy. As far as implementation is concerned, sort of best practice we've had from iManage, and also what we're finding works better for our customers, is if you get it out into the field. So perhaps you give it to a small group who works on a bunch of projects or has some jobs that they do that are very sort of checklist driven, and allow them to use it to start running those projects or those jobs, and then figure out if those processes are going to work for you, build out those templates and roll it out more broadly. What we found is that if you try and do a full sort of business analysis and design before implementing anything or giving users access to it, that you sort of get stuck in cycles of sort of business analysis, design, and iterative processes. So what we find is using it is the best way to get it in place and get it embedded and make it something that's essential for your professionals and their support staff to use on a day-to-day basis. So it's really not a big deal at all, and it's not going to cost you a lot as far as services are concerned to get it up and running. Hopefully that answers that, Jenny.
Absolutely. And then the other question I thought people might be curious about was, if we create a new workspace, can you automatically push out trackers with that workspace, or will you have to manually add them in?
So I might take that one. So as it stands at the moment, the mechanisms that Jeff has shown about spinning up a tracker. So, manually, in the sense that the user, has to make a decision to, create a tracker for a particular workspace or job or engagement. And there's those various means of, spinning up a tracker from an existing tracker in the system, which is probably the most efficient way to do it, but also of course, from copy and pasting from other, Word or Excel tabular-based trackers that you might have in use at the moment. So again, Tracker, while it's not the newest product we've deployed to iManage Cloud, it's been around for a little while. It's got a lot of things that the product management team are looking at as next steps. And one of the things I know they're considering is how do we enable trackers to be spun up automatically, just like workspaces can be spun up from template. So again, keep an eye out for, in the future there will be additional capabilities around defining how and which trackers are spun up with workspaces of different types in the future.
Perfect. Thanks, Luke.
We have seen on the roadmap, though, Luke, similar to iManage Work now has Power Automate connectors available. I believe the roadmap, and we might see a little bit more about this in the seminar next week, Brett and Luke, in regards to, say, Power Automate connectors for Tracker and Power Automate connectors for other iManage solutions as well. So we see all of those as opportunities to start building in some automation until, if that's the path we go down, or if there ends up being some API capabilities, then I'm sure that these sort of workspace generation tools that we've got out there will start also integrating with Tracker as well.
Okay, great.
Thanks,
That's all the questions at the moment. I don't know if anyone else either wants to raise their hand and ask a question or pop it in the Q&A. Okay, I'll take that as as Brett did say before, if anyone has any questions, probably best to reach out to your account manager. They can also direct you to get an SOW done or answer any questions that you might have after the event. We are recording this webinar, so it will be shortly edited and put up onto YouTube, which I'll be sending around a link so you can rewatch if you do have anything that you need to look back on or you need to show somebody else that wasn't able to attend today's webinar.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, thanks for setting that up, Jenny. And thank you to all of the attendees, our customer base, and for joining and having the patience and time to see what we've got to offer. We look forward to talking to you a little bit more about any of this stuff, if you like, or going into deeper demonstrations. We can also help you to model or prove any of your processes out in a tracker as well and see what that looks like for you too. So thanks very much for that. Great. Well, Brett, thanks for the effort as well with the presentation. Luke, appreciate your time as well, and iManage in supporting us with this initiative. And we look forward to helping our customers with the iManage tracker experience down the track as well. So thanks very much, guys. Appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Thanks, everyone.
See you later.
Great
Thanks,
session.
everyone.
Bye.